Hi, my name is Doug. I'm the Floridian Santa. And how did it come about that Santa Claus, drawn by an illustrator for a Coca-Cola ad, became to be the Santa Claus we're all used to? How did he even start? Let's get right to it. I love my cocoa. Get you a cup of hot cocoa, have a seat, sit down, and relax. I want to share this with you. The image of Santa Claus has changed throughout history many, many times. Now, Santa Claus originated, okay? The story started back in the 4th century, and it was with a man named Saint Nicholas. He lived in Myra, which is an area in Turkey, and he was a Christian bishop. Now, he was noted as being generous, especially to those who were struggling, and he was always generous. And he would give, he would give money, and sometimes he would give gifts. And there's a story of him even given, for this man. He had 3 daughters and couldn't afford their weddings, and he gave for him to be able to pay for their weddings. And he would give, just out of his heart. And he was dressed just like, his day. He had the beard, but he was tall. So he wasn't a short little fat man. He was a tall man, and he was dressed in the bishop's robes at the time. And one of the colors that the robes would be often was red. And it was red and white. And that was one of the robes that the bishops at that time would wear. Now, we're going to jump forward and go into the European fusion of Santa Claus. Now, in the European fusion, it was during the Protestant Reformation, and the Catholic saints were being discouraged from being held up, with high esteem in a lot of areas. But they didn't want to give up the gift giving. And in those areas, Saint Nicholas became known by 2 different other names. In the Netherlands, he became known as Sinterklaas, was what they called him. Now, he was still depicted as a tall man, and he would ride on a white horse, and he would give gifts, and he would specifically give gifts in December. And in England, he was merged, St. Nicholas was merged with Old Winter folklore, and he became known as Father Christmas. And of course, he was a robust, bearded man, and he personified, all of the things that we've grown to know: the holiday cheer, and the feasting, and celebrating, and gift giving. And he usually wore a long fur-lined green or brown robe. Now, we're going to jump to the American reimagining of Santa Claus, and that was in the 19th century. Now, when the Dutch, after they, settlers, when they came to America, they brought with them Sinterklaas. And in the 19th century, there was a writer and artist that completely revolutionized the image of Santa Claus. And the first one is the poem. Now, this poem was written in 1823, or it came out in 1823. It was written by Clement Clark Moore, and it was originally published as a visit from St. Nicholas, but we have come to know this poem as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and it has become a classic that parents love to read to their children, grandparents love to read to their grandchildren. And in the poem, he depicted St. Nicholas as a jolly elf. So he depicted him with a round belly, and he would, pulled by 8 tiny reindeer, and then he would go down the chimneys to give gifts to the children. Now, going a little forward from there in 1860 through the 1880s, there was an illustrator whose name was Thomas Nast. And he drew a series of Christmas caricatures for Harper's Weekly that was well known at the time. And when he drew this character, he based it on St. Nicholas out of the poem "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," but he drew him larger. He made him human size. He made him more like what we know of him today. And of course, he drew him and showed him in a workshop in the North Pole making toys. And he also was the one who drew and came up with the naughty or nice list that Santa Claus has. Now, when he drew him, noted that the red suit has been known with Santa, even from Saint Nicholas himself, because one of his robes being red and white. And then that is nothing new, so he didn't invent this, but he did popularize him, and he would show him with the red suit. Now, he also had him sometimes, he would draw him in a green or a tan, which of course goes back to Father Christmas of what we are used to. Now we're going to jump one last time and go forward to the one that we all are familiar with. Now, I was thrift shopping, and I was at a thrift store, and I came upon a mug, a porcelain or ceramic coffee mug, and I noticed on there that it had the original artist's drawing of the Coca-Cola ad that was done. Now, the Coca-Cola, it was in 1931. Everyone would enjoy Coca-Cola during the summer because, a cold Coke during the summer, everyone was enjoying it. But during the winter months, the sales would go down. And Coca-Cola wanted to bring their sales up through those slow months. So they hired this artist, and he drew Santa not as the spooky elf, but he drew him in the way of what we know him. Now, the artist's name was Haddon Sundblom, and he drew this first Coca-Cola holiday ad with Santa looking more like what we're used to him, the bearded and robust and happy and jolly, grandfatherly looking person. And he did not invent the red suit, but he did set it as becoming a standard, because he always drew his Santa with a red suit and the white trim. And that is what we have come to know in our minds as Santa by an ad for a company that just wanted to raise their sales a little bit. Now, like I said, Santa, he changed from looking like St. Nicholas, a tall man, to then when he was in the poem, "Twas the Night Before Christmas," winding up looking like a little elf. And now we have him to where he looks like basically the Santa Claus we're all used to. The jolly, fat, grandfatherly with the white beard old man, and always laughing and full of joy, and loving on kids, and loving to bring toys to kids at Christmas. And that's where we have the history of Santa. And to me, I feel, I've shared with you, I feel like I was destined to eventually be able to portray Santa Claus. And I always like to now, as of lately, I'm going to just wear my shirt that my sister made this for me. This is one of my shirts. This is the shirt that she gave me and surprised me with when I went to go visit at Thanksgiving. And she basically took an image of me and just kind of, with the help of AI, had it cartoonized, and underneath, you can't see it probably in the camera, but underneath it just simply says Santa in training. And that's where I am. I don't care if I have been able to portray Santa for 10 to 15 years. I will always consider myself as Santa in training, because there's always going to be something I can learn to continue to grow and share that persona of Santa and share joy to kids. And like I've shared before, even adults, the kids at heart that are within each adult. But that was what I had for you today. Just wanted to share with you. I've always enjoyed the artwork of the Coca-Cola ads, and I thought I would just share a little bit of history of how it all came to be, to where now that is usually how we recognize Santa Claus. Now, that's here in the United States. And some other areas he may look the same and may look similar, but I know in England they still call him Papa. They still call him Father Christmas. And in some of the Spanish-speaking countries, because I have the opportunity, I work with a lot of Spanish women, at my job, and I have been taught that in their area he's known as Papa Noel. So, however he's considered, he's still a loving, jolly, laughing, and giving man who loves to give gifts to those at Christmas. Thank you again. My name is Doug, the Floridian Santa. Thank you for joining me this episode. And remember, love never takes, but it always gives. God bless.